Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Sage, live from Kalkine studio. You're watching the early trades, and let's get started without any further delays. The S&P ASX 200 fell 0.2% in the opening minutes of trade on Thursday, compounding losses on Wednesday in a fall led by a 1.8% drop for the energy sector after the oil prices fell overnight. And shares in Treasury Wine Estates climbed 1.2% after the company announced a $434 million acquisition of a California luxury winemaker as part of a broader plan to focus on high-end wines. And shares of Aristocrat Leisure fell 2.5% despite the company revealing earning growth as far into 2022's financial year. And shares in the Sonic Healthcare eased 2.4% higher after it also revealed higher earnings in an update before markets opened. And the decline for Australian shares follows a fall for the US blue chips overnight. Reserve Bank Assistant Governor Lucy Ellis will speak at 3 p.m. at the Committee for Economic Development of Australia, and investors will be focusing on the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's fourth quarter survey of expectations, which include the all-important 2-year ahead inflation expectations. These will be watched closely for signs that expectations are drifting away from the 2% target. With inflation running at 4.9%, it may jump to 6% in the first quarter of next year, according to ANZ forecasts, nudging the central bank's outlook higher. The data is the final release before the bank's monetary policy statement next week, in which market forecasts are split 60-40 on whether the bank will raise rates 25 basis points or 50 basis points. The week that started with great promise has soured steadily in 2 sessions. The S&P ASX 200 has gone from a 2-month high of Monday to a 2-week low. In doing so, the index has given up 100 points. Shrinking margins were at the root of much of Wall Street's overnight malaise and also at the heart of the storm that engulfed the Australian banking sector yesterday. The ASX financial sector skidded to a 6-week low after Commonwealth Bank reported competition among home lenders had knocked a hole in its profits. Bank investors may have to wait for a rebound, and the US financials fell 1.11% overnight as the long-term interest rates declined. Energy was another major drag, falling 1.74% as the crude prices dived. And materials gave up 0.64%. Oil prices fell overnight following news that US President Joe Biden and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping discussed the merits of jointly releasing oil reserves to quell rising energy prices in a move that would mark a first for the two nations. And energy shares fell in the US and on Thursday weighed on the S&P ASX 200 equity benchmark, which traded flat by mid-morning in Sydney. Bond proxies attracted a bid as yields fell and the real estate put on 0.64%, health 0.16% and utilities 0.13%. A positive for exporters is another down leg in the dollar, and the Aussie fell 0.5% overnight to 72.65 US cents, a 6-week low. The day ahead is one of the busiest of this AGM season, and shareholders expect to hear from Goodman Group, Sonic Healthcare, Altium, BlueScope Steel, Western Areas, IGO, Northern Star, Mineral Resources, New Hope, AMA Group, Virtus Health, Satoya, Medibank and Freedom Foods. Looking at the IPO space, biotech company Tissue Repair listed at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The company is developing healing products for chronic wounds and surgery aftercare. The listing of Parabellum Resources has been pushed back to next week. And now, before we move on to the trending updates from the ASX listed companies, it's time for a short break, but please stay with us.
Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
sectoral coverage or industry news.
we cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
with Kalkine TV.
Welcome back, Sage here. Let's move our attention now to the trending updates from the ASX listed companies, beginning with National Australia Bank's Chief Executive Ross McEwan has flagged discounted home loan interest rates for customers doing their part to reduce household emissions as NAB and an alliance of global banks back a new tool that will help them meet tougher environmental reporting standards. NAB and members of an alliance comprising Britain's NatWest, Canada's CIBC and Brazil's Itaú Unibanco have recognised Adelaide-based startup Valai for a home sustainability rating tool known as Greenhouse. All the banks plan to help it bring its product to market after it won a competition, and NAB Ventures may invest in the company. Evolution Mining shares climbed to a 4-month high on a closing price basis on Thursday in a note of confidence from investors over a $1 billion acquisition announced a day earlier. Evolution shares jumped 7.5% to outperform all other blue chips on Thursday, pushing its shares to the highest level since July. And the gains follow news on Wednesday that it will spend $1 billion to buy the Ernest Henry mine in Queensland from Swiss giant Glencore in a deal that will give the company exposure to copper and silver. Despite the gains, the company's shares are down nearly a fifth this year but have staged a rebound since a 2021 low in late September, as outlined in the below chart from Google. And the Australian intellectual property company IPH has recorded an increase in patent filings across some of its key regions and said its earnings on a like-for-like basis were up so far for the 2022 financial year compared to the prior period. IPH's first 4 months of trading for financial year 22 has been in line with expectations, with an increase in group underlying like-for-like EBITDA compared to the prior corresponding period, the company said. Sonic Healthcare has grown EBITDA 16% to $991 million in the first 4 months of the 2022 financial year, and the company said in an update on Thursday. The jump reflects revenue growth of 5% over the 4 months compared to the same period a year ago to $3.1 billion. And share market bolter Satir says it has signed an agreement with international fashion group OTB Spa to directly integrate products from its licensed brand portfolio into Satir's platform. And shares in the online luxury fashion marketplace have gone gangbusters since it listed at 50 cents per share in 2020 to last close at $4.53. Its $1.7 billion valuation now dwarfs that of Myer and Top's e-commerce rival, Kogan.com. Gaming group Aristocrat Leisure increased EBITDA 43% to $1.5 billion in the year to September 30th. The company's revenues grew 14.4% to $4.7 billion and attributed its performance to profitable growth across both Aristocrat Gaming and the Pixel United businesses, in results released on Thursday. And Treasury Wine Estates has acquired the family Frank Vineyards based in the Napa Valley in Northern California for US $315 million. Frank Family Vineyards is a luxury wine group founded 3 decades ago, and its bottles retail from $38 up to $225. The deal valued the business 13.2 times its 2021 earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortisation. An Altium Group, an Australian software company, is on track to hit the earnings and revenue goals previously forecast to the market after a strong first 4 months of the fiscal 2022 year. Across the business, the company said on Thursday. And thanks for your company on the report, but that's all for now in the early morning trades. Do stay tuned to Kalkine TV as we have more news lined up for you. This is Sage signing off.